House prices are in a dip at the moment, opening up the possibility for more people to jump into the market. Property Apprentice owner and financial advisor Debbie Roberts joins us now with the top 5 things we should know before buying. Debbie, take us away. What's the first one?
The first thing that you need to know is why you're buying it. Are you buying it as a home or are you buying it as an investment? If you're buying it for an investment, you need to know your numbers. So this is in addition to all the stuff that I normally talk about, you know, like getting a good mortgage advisor and blah, blah, blah. So, yeah, that's the first thing. What's the reason that you're purchasing that property?
So if you're buying it as a home, though, does it matter?
What matter?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, no, they totally do matter, but it's different numbers. You know, if you're buying it for a home, then the things that you need to understand is, can you afford to pay the mortgage? Because, you know, the bank will tell you you can borrow a certain amount, but it's you that knows what your actual budget is. So just because a bank tells you you can borrow a certain amount doesn't mean you can actually afford it.
And that's an interesting topic at the moment as well, because I guess 2 years ago, if you went to buy a house, interest rates were low, but what's the number that you should be, I guess, assuming your mortgage rate payments off of? You shouldn't obviously just be assuming on the current rate, right?
No, that's right. So the long-term average leading up to COVID for interest rates, the long-term average was about 6.3 before the OCR was slashed and we got the interest rates round at 2.5%. So I've always liked to stress test interest payments, you know, your mortgage payments at about a 7 or a 7.5% interest rate, just in case you get stuck. So, yeah, so that was the first point. Second one is, what's your plan? You know, like, you're planning on having babies, you might need an extra bedroom. You know, are you downsizing for the future? You know, so think about all of this stuff, because, you know, buying a property is not a short-term plan, it's a long-term plan, and even more so when it comes for investments, you know, when it comes to investing in property. So, yeah, good investments aren't bought, it's part of a really long-term, carefully thought-out plan. So property investing, for example, it's not a game of Monopoly, it's a game of finance, and if you screw it up, you're going to have all your eggs in one basket, and that's never a good idea when it comes to investing. Okay. Third thing, due diligence. I think I've talked about this on the program before. A lot of people think that, you know, spending money checking out the property before you purchase, it's a lot of money, because it does cost money to do thorough due diligence. You know, you've got your building inspection, drug tests, you know, check out the council file, LIM report, all of that sort of stuff's really important. If you skimp on that, it can actually cost you not just a few $1,000s, it can cost you tens, if not hundreds of thousands of dollars.
It's funny because I bought with my brother a couple of years ago and we had the real estate agent say to us, oh, you don't need to worry about a builder's report. So is that something you need to watch out for, that kind of slightly dodgy advice? Because we were like, no, we're definitely going to be doing that.
Yeah, I mean, my personal opinion is that you should always get a building inspection unless you're a builder yourself, you know, or unless you've got a really good friend that's a builder that can come and have a look at the property with you. So, yeah, I'm not saying that the real estate agent was being dodgy when they said you don't need to worry about that, because real estate agents follow a strict code of practice now. You know, they can run the risk of losing their licence if they don't comply with all of those rules.
But the thing is, if you're looking for a house, you could be going to many houses and actually be in the running for lots of houses. If you're paying for builders' reports, which, I don't know, I think when we were looking like something like $500 or something, every single house, that is a cost that adds up massively.
Absolutely, and there's this magical thing that you can use called a due diligence clause, which means that you can negotiate the purchase of the property, so negotiate the purchase price and the settlement date, and your offer is subject to due diligence. So that can save you so much money. You can't use a due diligence if the property is getting sold at auction, though, because auctions are cash unconditional.
Yeah.
So yeah, auction's frustrating if you're limited by your deposit, because obviously every time you do some due diligence, you're losing a little bit of that deposit, but vitally important. So, because if you don't do your homework, you could end up losing the house, literally.
Leaky building or something.
Yeah, exactly. Right, where are we up to? Number four. What's your plan B? You know, what is your plan B? What if something goes wrong? What if you get made redundant just after you've bought this house? You know, so make sure you've got good insurance cover in place to protect you from things like that. So insurance for redundancy, for example, or income protection, health, life insurance, all of those sort of things. Like if you're purchasing as a couple and your partner gets, for lack of a better phrase, hit by a bus. You know, if your partner gets hit by a bus, are you going to be able to afford to carry on with that mortgage payment just on one income? And so think about all of that sort of stuff. And last but not least, treat house hunting like a business, not a hobby. When you're looking at purchasing a home, that is an emotional purchase. You know, so it's really easy to fall in love with a place and maybe pay more than you should for the property. When you're buying an investment, you need to take as much of that emotion out of the process as possible. It's all about the numbers when you're looking at buying an investment.
Fantastic advice, as always. Thanks so much, Debbie. That's Debbie Roberts from Property Apprentice